to the car, okay? Just look, just keep on moving. Keep going straight. Okay?
All right.
All right.
Come on, man. Just follow back behind us.
You wake up to headlines that feel almost surreal. Karmelo Anthony's parents, once seen stepping in and out of court in tailored suits and designer coats, have just filed for bankruptcy. But this isn't just about falling behind on bills. Court records reveal the move comes immediately after a judge approved a sweeping asset freeze, locking down every account, property, and high-value possession tied to the family. From the outside, it looks like a strategic play, an attempt to protect what's left. But prosecutors see it differently, as a desperate scramble from a family drowning in mounting legal pressure. The filing itself, obtained by reporters late last night, lists liabilities exceeding $12 million, much of it linked directly to the ongoing murder trial of their son, Karmelo. Legal fees alone are said to have crossed the seven-figure mark, with additional millions tied to private investigators, expert witnesses, and financial consultants. But the most alarming detail? The inclusion of multiple offshore accounts, now flagged by federal agents as potentially relevant to the investigation into Austin Metcalf's death. According to sources close to the case, the bankruptcy filing was submitted less than 48 hours after court officials moved to freeze assets suspected of being tied to illicit transfers, some of which prosecutors claim could connect directly to the events leading up to the stabbing. One investigator described the move as closing the barn door after the horses are already gone, suggesting that much of the family's liquid assets may have already been shifted out of reach. Meanwhile, the Metcalf family's attorney issued a sharp statement. Bankruptcy doesn't erase the truth. If these funds are connected to Austin's murder, it doesn't matter where they try to hide them. That sentiment is now fueling public debate. Was this a financial collapse brought on by relentless legal costs, or the last step in a long-running attempt to shield money from justice? And with the filing officially public, one question is beginning to circulate through court hallways and social media threads alike. What will investigators uncover now that they can follow the paper trail all the way to zero? You watch the courtroom shift as news of the bankruptcy filing becomes the day's opening blow. Prosecutors waste no time seizing on the development, telling the jury it's further proof this family's house of cards is collapsing. Then, with deliberate pacing, they walk through a breakdown of the Anthony family's finances over the last year, highlighting sudden cash withdrawals, wire transfers to obscure accounts, and the abrupt liquidation of assets like vehicles, jewelry, and even sports memorabilia that had been in the family for decades. Court documents show that just 3 weeks before the bankruptcy filing, the Anthonys sold a vacation property in Florida, well below market value. The buyer, a corporation registered in the Cayman Islands with no visible directors or business activity. Prosecutors suggest this is part of a pattern, assets being moved into unreachable channels before the freeze order locked everything down. The defense pushes back, claiming the sale was a necessary move to cover legal expenses and has no connection to the charges at hand. But the timeline is raising eyebrows. Investigators point out that the most significant transfers and liquidations all took place after the discovery of the now infamous $100,000 payment linked to the murder case. It's as if, they say, the family saw the walls closing in and started unloading anything that could be seized. The Metcalf family sits just rows away, their attorney scribbling notes each time another asset is mentioned. For them, the bankruptcy isn't just a legal maneuver. It's a sign that the Anthony's once untouchable image is fracturing under the weight of both public opinion and federal scrutiny. And now, the looming question isn't just why they filed for bankruptcy, it's what investigators will find once they peel back the layers of shell companies, quick sales, and offshore entities. If even a fraction of those transactions tie back to the events of that night in the stadium tent, this case could shift from financial collapse to an airtight conspiracy. Would you consider this a desperate defense or a calculated escape plan? The atmosphere inside the courthouse feels heavier now, as if everyone can sense the shift from legal defense to survival mode. The prosecution wastes no time projecting the Anthony family's bankruptcy petition onto the big courtroom screen, line by line, for the jury to see. The list of creditors is staggering. Banks, private lenders, luxury retailers, and even a handful of anonymous personal loans with no repayment schedule. The total debt? Over $20 million. But what truly catches the room's attention isn't the debt, it's the omissions. According to federal investigators, key assets appear to be missing from the filing. Items like a diamond bracelet valued at over $80,000 and a luxury vehicle recently spotted in a relative's driveway are nowhere to be found on the official list. The prosecution claims these discrepancies suggest deliberate concealment, a move that could shift the bankruptcy from a civil matter to a criminal one, if proven. Adding fuel to the fire, bank statements reveal large cash withdrawals made just days before the asset freeze. One transaction in particular, $250,000 in cash pulled from an account in Karmelo's father's name, has investigators digging deeper. The withdrawal was made at a branch located less than a mile from a private airstrip, sparking speculation about whether that money, and potentially other hidden funds, have already left the country. The defense counters by painting the family as financially overwhelmed, describing them as good people drowning in legal bills, who simply made mistakes in their paperwork. But their calm delivery seems almost too rehearsed, especially when compared to the prosecution's methodical display of receipts, timelines, and photographs. From the jury box to the back row, the question lingers in the air. Is this bankruptcy a legitimate plea for financial relief, or the final stage of a cover-up designed to hide money tied to a murder case? And if it's the latter, how much will be uncovered before it's too late to recover? You watch as the prosecution introduces their next piece of evidence, a series of wire transfer records that somehow managed to slip past the initial bankruptcy disclosures. The amounts aren't small. One shows $90,000 sent to a shell company registered in the Cayman Islands just 3 weeks before the bankruptcy filing. Another reveals $45,000 routed through a Nevada-based LLC with no known business activity. Both companies linked through a single attorney who specializes in asset protection for high net worth clients under legal scrutiny. The timing is impossible to ignore. These transfers happened after the Anthony family had already been hit with mounting legal bills from the murder trial and days before the judge ordered their accounts frozen. Prosecutors suggest the goal was simple: move as much money out of reach as possible before the financial noose tightened. The jury shifts uncomfortably as a forensic accountant explains how this pattern, large, fast-moving transfers to offshore or obscure entities, is a classic tactic in cases involving hidden assets. She walks them through each transaction, pausing on one detail that draws a sharp intake of breath from the gallery. The Cayman Islands company was set up less than 48 hours after the $100,000 payment linked to the murder plot was made public. The defense objects, arguing that the funds in question were part of a pre-existing business investment and not related to the murder case. But their explanation lands flat, especially as prosecutors display side-by-side photos, one of Karmelo's mother boarding a private jet, the other a screenshot of the corresponding transfer confirmation from her phone. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarm, trying to make sense of the dual headlines now gripping the public, a high-profile murder trial intertwined with an unraveling financial empire. And behind the glass doors, the question becomes unavoidable. Are Karmelo Anthony's parents broke, or are they simply playing broke while their real money waits safely out of reach? You're watching as the next witness takes the stand, a former employee of the Anthony family's real estate firm, someone who handled their financial paperwork for years. Her voice trembles at first, but the weight of what she's revealing quickly steadies her tone. She claims she was instructed, just days before the bankruptcy filing, to clean out certain digital folders and shred physical records tied to overseas accounts. When pressed by prosecutors, she admits the instructions didn't come directly from Karmelo's parents, but from their longtime financial advisor, a man who's now under federal review for allegedly facilitating fraudulent bankruptcy filings in other high-profile cases. The witness says she hesitated at first, but after a stern phone call from Karmelo's father warning her to stay loyal, she followed through. Prosecutors seize on the phrase "stay loyal," suggesting it was a veiled threat. They remind the court that loyalty, in this context, often means silence, especially when millions of dollars and possible prison time are on the line. The courtroom screen then lights up with a timeline that feels almost cinematic. Day 1, bankruptcy attorney retained. Day 3, $250,000 wire sent to a Dubai account. Day 4, digital folders wiped. Day 6, bankruptcy petition filed. Day 7, court orders assets frozen. The jurors can see the overlap clearly, and so can the public. Social media explodes with screenshots of the timeline, hashtags calling the family fraud in designer suits, and viral polls asking if the Anthonys should face additional criminal charges for hiding assets. And now, the question on everyone's mind isn't whether the Anthony family is bankrupt, it's whether their bankruptcy itself is just another calculated move in a long line of deceit. Would you believe them if they swore they were broke? Or does this look like a family playing chess while the rest of the world thinks they're losing checkers? You watch as the lead bankruptcy trustee steps up to testify, his voice sharp, every word landing like a gavel strike. He explains that when a court freezes assets, it's meant to preserve the financial picture exactly as it exists. No transfers, no withdrawals, no sudden changes. But in the Anthony's case, that picture was already blurred before the freeze even hit. According to the trustee's report, tens of thousands of dollars in luxury purchases were made in the 48 hours leading up to the filing. High-end jewelry, a designer wardrobe overhaul, even a down payment on a brand new SUV. None of it disclosed in the bankruptcy paperwork. These aren't oversights, he tells the court. These are deliberate omissions designed to keep assets out of creditors' hands. The gallery shifts uneasily. It's one thing to be drowning in legal fees. It's another to be accused of splurging on personal luxuries while pleading poverty to a federal judge. Prosecutors suggest these purchases may have been a form of asset conversion, turning liquid cash into goods that are harder to track or seize. Adding to the tension, an email surfaces, allegedly from Karmelo's mother to her sister, stating, "Once it's in the house, they can't take it." The defense objects immediately, calling it taken out of context, but the damage is already done. The line lingers in the air, painting a picture of a family not scrambling to survive, but strategizing to keep their lifestyle intact, under the cover of financial ruin. Outside, protesters line the courthouse steps with signs that read, "Bankruptcy is not a game," and "Justice for the Metcalfs." The divide between supporters and critics has never felt sharper. And inside, one thing is becoming painfully clear. This isn't just about losing money. It's about the lengths the Anthonys are allegedly willing to go to make sure they don't lose control. Would you call that desperation or manipulation? The judge's chambers feel heavier than usual as the final motion of the day is read aloud. The court has officially appointed a forensic asset recovery team to comb through every account, every safe deposit box, every corner of the Anthony's financial world. It's no longer just about bankruptcy, it's about potential fraud. The lead investigator outlines the scope of the search: offshore accounts, cryptocurrency wallets, even property deeds under distant relatives' names. Every stone will be overturned, and while the Anthonys sit at the defense table in silence, their attorneys furiously scribble notes, knowing that if hidden assets are found, the fallout could escalate far beyond debt. This could shift from civil bankruptcy court into full-blown criminal prosecution. The most gut-punching moment comes when the prosecution plays a short clip from the Anthony family's own home security footage, taken just 2 days before the bankruptcy filing. In the grainy video, boxes are being loaded into a van late at night. Prosecutors allege these boxes contained valuables being moved out before the asset freeze took effect. The defense insists it was personal storage, but the implication is clear. There may have been a coordinated effort to shield property from the court's reach. As the gavel strikes to adjourn, reporters swarm the hallway, throwing out questions the Anthonys refuse to answer. The Metcalf family slips out a side door, avoiding the chaos, their attorney later telling the press, "Justice is coming, one way or another." By day's end, headlines have already shifted. This isn't just a financial collapse, it's a public unraveling. The image of a once respected family is dissolving in real time, replaced by a narrative of secrecy, manipulation, and possible deception. Now, the only question left is whether the truth will come out before the last of their assets and their reputation are gone for good.